Otisha Woolbright worked at the deli and bakery of a Walmart in Jacksonville, Florida in 2013. One of her duties included carrying 50-pound trays of chicken into an industrial oven every day. At 3 months pregnant, she went to the emergency room after she started bleeding. She was told she was at risk of miscarrying and was provided a doctor's note urging her to avoid heavy lifting. She returned to Walmart with the note and asked for light duty. In response, her boss said she had seen a pregnant Demi Moore do acrobatics on TV, and that if she couldn't keep lifting the trays, she could, quote, walk out those doors. Miss Moore later confirmed these actions were done by a stunt double. As a mother of 3 children, with another on the way, Miss Woolbright was not in a place where she could afford to lose her paycheck, so she continued to work and kept lifting the 50-pound trays. Soon after this, Miss Woolbright had a second scare while lifting the trays and required another emergency visit to a hospital. Only after this did Walmart finally put her on light duty. When she inquired about maternity leave, an unexpected and devastating response came 3 days later. She was called into an office by a supervisor and told, quote, Walmart will no longer be needing your services. She was 7 months pregnant at the time. Miss Woolbright then sued Walmart. After being fired, it took Miss Woolbright a year to gain employment elsewhere. She recounts how her children outgrew their clothes and how she often had suicidal thoughts. When she was able to get employment, she couldn't get shifts that allowed for her to care for her children, so she was forced to stop working. Due to Walmart being the least expensive store in Miss Woolbright's area, she is forced to continue to go there to shop for baby formula and diapers for her children.
Rosalba Lazao and Rosa Jimenez worked in a warehouse for their employer, IEH Auto Parts. Along with other Latinx employees, they were subject to frequent racial discrimination by their supervisor, including derogatory language and being forced to work long past scheduled hours. Despite this harassment, both Rosalba and Rosa performed extremely well at their jobs, never receiving a single negative performance review. After lunch one day, there was a long line to clock back in. Rosa was pregnant at the time and unable to stand for that long. Rosalba waited in line to punch in for her, as she had seen numerous employees do before. They were both pulled into their supervisor's office later and inexplicably accused of punching in twice to steal from the company. Rosalba and Rosa both tried to explain that all they were doing was giving Rosa a chance to rest her feet, and that they had seen other employees do this on numerous occasions. Despite this, they were both fired for allegedly violating a company policy, a policy that had never been communicated to them, either orally or in writing. After Rosa and Rosalba were fired, their bosses required them to sign a termination form in English and refused point-blank to make a Spanish translation so they could review it. Rosalba asked for a copy so she could bring it home for someone else to translate, and incredibly, that request was refused as well.
Corrections officer Sarah Kugel was 7 months pregnant when she was assigned to an all-male super maximum prison in California. In the best interest of her unborn child, Ms. Kugel went to one of her supervisors to ask for reasonable accommodations for an alternate work assignment. She wanted to work in a less strenuous position because of her pregnancy and believed the California Department of Corrections would provide her the same accommodations that other law enforcement agencies provided to pregnant women, including letting them transfer temporarily to positions with lighter workloads without losing seniority. The response she received from her supervisor was that she only had 3 options, which were to 1, stay in her current position and work until 5 weeks before her due date, 2, accept a demotion, which would mean a 2/3 cut in pay, loss of peace officer status, loss of seniority, loss of benefits, and loss of right to bid for shifts, or 3, take leave as an accommodation. One day, an alarm sounded during her shift, alerting her of a prison fight. When Miss Kugel ran towards the fight, she fell and was rushed to the hospital. By September 13th, 2017, she had lost her child from a placental rupture, commonly caused by trauma, such as a fall. Sarah Kugel had almost lost her life as well and went on life support for 2 days. No man has to make a choice between work and family or give up his pay to ensure the safety of his children, yet Sarah Kugel was forced to.
Maria Fuentes worked as a day cleaner for her employer, Vader Ventures, working 40 hours a week for a little over $14 an hour. Her job was physical, requiring her to stand for long periods of time and bend over to clean toilets and other areas that were low to the ground. When Ms. Fuentes found out that she was pregnant with her second child, she informed her supervisors. They assured her that accommodations would be made. As her pregnancy progressed, Ms. Fuentes developed severe back pain. She visited her doctor, who recommended that she avoid squatting and bending over to clean the toilets, particularly because that task also required the use of noxious cleaning chemicals. Ms. Fuentes requested this accommodation with her employer, believing that it would not pose a problem, since they had already promised to accommodate her pregnancy. A co-worker, who worked the same hours as Ms. Fuentes, even offered to switch duties with her. Despite this, Vader's prior promise, and a note from her doctor, Vader Ventures refused to accommodate Ms. Fuentes. In a meeting, they told her that she could not continue working unless she could fulfill 100% of her duties. She attempted to explain that all she needed was to reassign her bathroom cleaning duties. She could perform each and every other task that she'd been assigned, but this fell on deaf ears. When she attempted to come to work the day after this meeting, she was barred from entering the building by security guards. Ms. Fuentes relied on her income as a single mother to support her young daughter and prepare for the birth of her second child. She was left wishing that she'd never requested this accommodation in the first place, despite the danger she and her doctor knew she would be exposing her unborn child to if she hadn't.